Hey everyone, it's Lane with Tim's Nation. I'm here today with something special, something I've been working on in secret, something I'm very happy to see putting on the table here. No Space Marines today, no Death Guard, no Custodes. Today it is all Kroot all the time. 135 Kroot models in my 2,000 point Kroot, the Kroot hunting pack list. So I'm not a Tau player, but I am a Kroot player. I've always loved the models, and I had some Kroot for Kill Team because you could take all Kroot Kill Teams in the previous Kill Team editions. Had a few of them. I thought they were cool models. At one point in the past, I had gotten a hold of a bunch of Tau models. I was going to do Tau, paint them all up and run Tau for a while, but they're a shooty army, and I like to play shooty armies. But I literally picked up the first model and got my paint out and got my brush ready and just couldn't do it. I couldn't put the paint on it. I had no desire to paint Tau models, but the crew have always been very cool. I like them. So when GW said they were going to do an all Kroot detachment, I jumped at the opportunity. They gave us a couple of months notice, I guess. So I got some more Krootox riders. I got some more of the Kroot Infantry, the Kroot Hounds, acquired some, started working on those. And then when they released the Kroot Hunting Pack box, I bought 3 of those. So that's what we have here is kind of my initial, some of them that I have some Krootox riders that are metal. So we've got some of the old school metal models. We've got 6 metal Krootox riders, 10 metal of the Kroot Hounds. And well, of course, we've got a ton of the new models too. It takes a lot of models to make 2,000 points of all Kroot. So, and you'll see that, like I said, it's 135 models. And the rule I had for myself is 100% Kroot, all Kroot. And as you know, rules are meant to be broken. So I do have one Tau model in here. It's just a little quality of life edition. I don't really have any interest in bringing any other Tau in here, but I do have an Ethereal just because that extra CP generation is going to be great. Because a lot of times I imagine if I'm trying to play this army to win, I'm probably going to be taking fixed secondaries like cleanse, engage on all fronts, maybe behind enemy lines, that sort of thing. The army, unfortunately, doesn't have much kill power. It's got very cool rules. It's got very cool detachment rules, very cool enhancements, very cool stratagems. The data sheets, they just made them so that they were not able to kill anything. The army suffers from a lack of AP. Most frustratingly, the Rampagers, the Krootox Rampagers, their close combat unit, Strength 6, AP 1, 2 damage. AP 1 just seems like an insult to them. There is a stratagem where you can bump up the AP, but it's only after something else has attacked that unit. So if I want to give Krootox Rampagers extra AP, I have to have another unit fight first in that combat phase, and then I can give it to the next unit. So it's too many terms and conditions to make it easier. Other than that, when it comes to shooting, other than 1 or 2 guns on a couple characters, it's all the infantry have AP 0, and the Krootox riders with their autocannons are at AP 1. I can get them up to AP 2, but there's so many armies where AP 2 with cover and then with an AP reduction strat or ability just turns into an AP nothing. So I don't think there's much legitimate play in this army in terms of taking it to a tournament. It's super fun. I refused to play it until I had movement trays for all of them. Again, it's 135 models, and a lot of times, and it's a very movement-based army. I mean, literally everything in the army has scout, except for the units that infiltrate, and they have a redeploy ability thanks to the character I have with them. So the entire army is scout moving, so they get a whole extra movement phase. Normally you have 5 movement phases through the 5 turns. Well, they have a 6th one because a whole army scouts. But really, yeah, they're not going to be able to do any damage. They'll be able to kill some things. So I played them once before against friend of the channel, Zach, and we kind of built a Space Marine list that would give this army a fighting chance. So I at least got one practicing game in beforehand. But like against something with 2-up armor, they're just not going to be able to do the work. Something with high toughness, there's nothing in here that has any kind of toughness or strength. The detachment does give them a +1 to wound ability, but only once that the target gets below half strength. So if you're trying to take down a big vehicle and you want to get that +1 to wound, you got to do half the damage to it already. So, yeah, we'll go through the detachment a little bit here. I don't want to really harp on all the details of everything. I'm also new to the army, guys, so it's going to take me a little while to go through this. It'll take me a while to go through this. But I am very proud of the paint job on this whole army, the fact that I did the dumbest thing imaginable by acquiring all of these models, all of this Kroot. But I think it'll be a lot of fun. I think at some point in the future, I will probably try to take it to a small RTT because I just want to. I want to have a good time with them, get them out there, show them off, maybe get best painted. Who knows? But they are super cool. I gotta say the models are very cool too. I love the Rampagers. I love the Farstalker Kin Band. Farstalker Kin Band. It's the one that came out with Kill Team, the Kill Team set. The models have some amazing sculpts on them, some great options, and I love the Battle Axolotls, the Lone Spears riding the Lizards. They're great. So I think it's a lot of fun. Again, there are some very cool rules in it. It's just that GW just didn't give them the ability to really do the damage they need to be able to do. I mean, those Krootox Rampagers, they should be strength 8, AP 2 damage, not strength 6, AP 1 2 damage. Their impact mortals are neat, but they're very swingy because you need to do a 4-up and then you can do D3. So even if you get a 4-up, you might still only do 1 on each of those guys. So we'll let's go through the list here. We'll talk through the detachment first, the detachment rules, and then we'll go through the list. So for the actual detachment itself, basically everything in the army gets a 5-up invuln to shooting. So they have a 5-up invuln to shooting, which is actually very nice. It gives them some durability because all of the infantry, all the characters, all the Kroot Hounds, all have stealth. The only thing that doesn't have stealth in the army are the Krootox, the Krootox Riders and the Krootox Rampagers. Everything else has stealth. So you can combine stealth, -1 to hit, with a 5-up invuln to shooting. And then my characters give out 6-up Feel No Pains. They can get up to 5-up Feel No Pains if they kill something in close combat. Those things kind of stack together. It means there's actually a fair amount of durability to these big 20-man bricks of the Kroot Carnivores, the basic Kroot Warriors. So they have this 5-up invuln to shooting. It's only a 6-up invuln in the combat phase. So once they get into fighting, obviously there's no neg to hit, and only a 6-up invuln, they're going to get wrecked because they don't really have armor. I think it's 6-up armor and everything. The Krootox have 5-up armor, so the only time they would take their armor save rather than the invuln is if they were being shot by something that's AP 0 and they were in cover. That would actually allow them to get to a 4-up. Other than that, it's all just going to be on the invulns and the shooting. And then a couple other things. The other thing is that their ability to do damage. So the other detachment rule is that anytime they target, either shooting or fighting, anytime they target a unit that's below full strength, they get +1 to hit. Ballistic skill for most everything is 4, so that takes them from 4 to 3. And in combat, their weapon skill is 3, so it takes them from 3 to 2. That gets very relevant. Now, on top of that, anytime the target unit is below half strength, they get +1 to wound. That starts to get pretty juicy, especially when they're dealing with infantry, the ability to get in there and wound really easily, to get better at hitting, better at wounding. It gets very strong into infantry. It's a problem against vehicles, and it's still, again, a problem against anything with a decent amount of AP, because it's, like I said, there's a strat for getting extra AP, but it's hard to proc off. It can only work after another unit has targeted and attacked in that phase. Anyways, so those two rules give them a lot of the extra durability and extra damage output, and give them some consistency. At least the +1 to hit gives them more consistency on hitting, especially because, as we'll discuss on the list, there are characters that give them rerolls to hit for the whole army. The third detachment rule is that the Kroot Carnivores. The Carnivores are the basic infantry, the basic troops. They are battle line here. They're not battle line in the basic Tau detachments, the other Tau detachments, but here in the Kroot Hunting Pack, they are battle line, so I can take lots of them. And in this case, I do have 4 squads of them. But yeah, those are the basic detachment rules. There's some fun enhancements that we'll get to. The stratagems, I'll try to discuss them as much as I can. Probably not here beforehand, but in the actual game. Well, let's go through the list and see what 2,000 points of Kroot plus, like I said, one Ethereal, one Tau Ethereal. Let's see what it looks like. All right, like I said, 2,000 points, and the rule is it has to be all Kroot. And I broke my rule with the first model we have here, the only Tau model we have. Now, I did you the courtesy of doing a little bit of light converting on this. We have one Tau Ethereal, and I gave him a Kroot head and one of the birds from the Farstalker kin band. I think it's called a Petra. To put on his staff there. The reason I took this is I kind of figured with this army, with all of its scout moves and its lack of being able to do any kind of consistent damage, really, I figured that I'd probably be doing fixed objectives. And when you know fixed, you never pick up any extra CP from discarding secondary cards. So the Ethereal, he's got 2 shield drones on him, so he's got a couple extra wounds. He's got 5 wounds. Nothing special other than that. But his ability is that in each of my command phases, I roll D6, and on a 4-up, I get a command point. So, throughout the game, I should be able to get 2 or 3 extra command points just to give me a little bit of extra play here. The stratagems for this army are very good, so I definitely want to make sure I'm making use of them. Now, let's start talking about Kroot. To start off with, we do have one War Shaper. So the War Shaper, his abilities... once per game, he can unbattle shock a nearby unit at the start of any phase. 12 inches, yeah, within 12 inches of the model. And then also he has the Space Marine Captain ability where once per battle round, he can reduce a stratagem's cost by 1 CP. So he will be able to do that. That's why I'm only taking one of him. Because I don't know how relevant the battle shock thing is going to be, but I can't do more than one of the free strats per battle round, so we only got one of him. Now, he has a nice enhancement that gives his weapons devastating wounds and precision, and this is relevant because his gun, his ranged weapon, the Darbow and Tri-Blade, it's D3 plus 1 attacks, hits on 4s, strength is 4, and it's 2 damage. However, it is anti-infantry 3-up. It is assault and it is heavy. So now that it's got devastating wounds with anti-infantry 3-up, basically he can shoot and pick up 1 or 2 infantry from a model. But as you know, the detachment rules give you bonuses to hit when you're below full strength or half strength. So he can start off by kind of almost getting a guaranteed kill on at least 1 infantry model from a unit that I'm attacking, and that way the rest of the army is going to get that +1 to hit into that unit. So also the precision means he could possibly precision out a character. He'd have to get a couple shots off, so I don't know how relevant that is, but giving them devastating wounds just means he's going to be able to do some damage, especially because, like I said, this army lacks AP, so being able to get some devastating wound, 2 damage shots through on some infantry will be helpful. Next, we have one of the Kroot Trail Shaper. No enhancement on him. His abilities... sorry, I got to look it up here, guys. New to the army. His ability, so once per turn, when an enemy unit ends a normal or advance or fallback move within 9 inches of his unit, they can make a normal move of up to D6 inches. So he does give his unit a counter move. And then his other big thing is that after both players have deployed their armies, you can redeploy this model's unit and 1 other friendly Kroot unit. So basically, I have 2 squads of the Farstalker kin band that have the infiltrate ability. They don't have a scout move, but thanks to him, I can redeploy 2 units. So I'll redeploy his and 1 other one. So it gives you a nice little way to redeploy a little bit. It's going to happen before the roll-off to see who goes first, but at least I can deploy them aggressively. And depending on how my opponent deploys, I can counter that by pulling them back a little bit. Next. All right, we've got 2 of the Kroot Lone Spears. So these are the guys that ride on the little axolotls, the little chameleon lizard things. There's 2 different weapon options, and I have 1 of each. Their deal is when they shoot and hit a target, the rest of your army will reroll all hits into that target for the rest of the turn. So not just the phase. If they shoot something, The rest of your army will reroll all hits into that target for the until the end of the phase. And both of them can do it. I've got 2 of them here, so they can both proc that off by doing that. So they do have 2 different range weapons. One has a rifle, a Kroot long gun. It's just 1 shot. Hits on 3s, but it is heavy. Strength 6, AP 2, 3 damage. So a decent shot there. However, he also has lone op, so he can kind of be out in the open there. And they have the ability to shoot and move after they've shot. So they can kind of tag at something and then fall back to safety. And because they have lone op, you won't be able to target him within 12 inches. So, but anyways, he's got 1 shot. His range on that is 36. So he will be holding back from the opponent to kind of tag somebody and give me reroll hits into that unit. The other one has the blast javelin. This is only an 18-inch range. It does a little bit more damage, but it's pretty nice. It's D6 shots. It is blast, and it's strength 10, AP 2, 2 damage. This is really the only AP in the whole army, other than some AP 1 here and there. But again, it's a decent shot. Again, D6 blast shots. I mean, they can do a little bit of work, kill a few things. But once he hits a unit, the rest of the army will reroll hits for the rest of the turns. That's the shooting phase and the fighting phase. The one with the rifle, with the Kroot long gun, does have the enhancement, the Kroot Hawk flock. And all this means is that he is lone op, but also he has a 12-inch deep strike deny. So you can't shoot him, and you can't get close to him with deep striking. So it keeps a chunk of the board safe from deep strikers, keeps him safe from deep strikers, and allows him to really take advantage of that lone op ability in addition. Next, we have three of the Kroot Flesh Shapers. I found that I really like these guys when they're leading a 20-man brick of the Kroot Carnivores because, first of all, they give their unit sustained in combat. Kind of nice, especially when there's the ability to reroll thanks to the lone spears. So they give their unit sustained in combat. And then the other thing they do is they give their unit a 6-up feel no pain. So a 20-man brick that has stealth, that has 5-up invuln, and a 6-up feel no pain is nice. And if their unit kills another unit in close combat, then that feel no pain goes to a 5-up, and that gets pretty juicy. It's going to be tough to chew through 20 carnivores if they have a 5-up feel no pain. So that's it for characters. Next, our battle line, Kroot Carnivores. We have 3 20-mans and a 10-man of these guys. So 70 Kroot Carnivores leading the way. As far as actual damage output, the ranged weapon, they just have a Kroot rifle. It's 24-inch range, 1 shot, rapid fire 1, strength 4, AP 0, 1 damage. That's it. No AP. They do have a little tangle bomb launcher. Again, no AP, just D3 blast shots, strength 5, AP 0, 1 damage. Just gives them a few extra shots, really, at strength 5. Then their special rule is that they are they do sticky objectives, so they have the ability to sticky objectives. We want to move off of them. And then in close combat, just a basic close combat weapon, strength 4, 2 attacks, strength 4, AP 0, 1 damage. They do hit on 3s, so it means when they get to the point where they get +1 to hit, targeting any unit below full strength, they'll be hitting on 2s, which is kind of nice in combat. It gives them some consistency. Even if they don't have much strength or AP, at least you know consistently that they'll be getting lots of hits in there. As far, that's it for they are battle line. Now we have 2 squads of the Kroot Farstalkers, the Farstalker kin bands. These guys have infiltrate, and their special abilities, they do ignore cover, although their guns don't have any AP. They do have an anti-vehicle, goofy little gun. Okay, so this is goofy. The Longdaxi Tribalest. 3 shots, hits on 5s because it's heavy. Strength 7, AP 1, 1 damage. Although it's anti-vehicle, 4-up, devastating wounds. So again, it's not super strong, but if you're shooting in a vehicle and can get 1 wound off of it, just one of those anti-vehicle 4-up dev wounds, that takes that unit below full strength and gives the rest of your army +1 to hit against it. So it's not strong in itself, but if you use it to proc your detachment rules, it's going to be helpful. Their special rules is they do infiltrate, the only unit that infiltrates. Everything else on the whole army does have a 7-inch scout move. the entire army, every character, every Krootox, Kroot, they're all 7-inch scout, other than these guys, but that's because they are infiltrate. And there's 10 infantry in there. There's 2 Kroot Hounds accompanying them, so they got 2 extra Kroot Hounds to kind of absorb a little bit of damage. Their special rules, they pick a unit, an enemy unit at the start of the game, and then they get lethal hits and precision into that enemy unit. This is one of those things I have to remember. I remember which unit I pick, and then remember to make sure I take advantage of that rule. But again, they are infiltrators, and with the Trail Shaper character on one of them, I'll be able to redeploy both of these units because the Trail Shaper lets you redeploy 2 units. Next, we got our doggos. We got our goodest little boys and girls, the Kroot Hounds. We do have 3 5-mans of the Kroot Hounds. They are OC 0. However, if they are within 12 inches of a Kroot character, they do become OC1. So that means they're very relevant for doing actions and scoring secondaries and scoring primaries because they can go up to OC1. They're very cheap. It's only 40 points for 5 of them. So it's a cheap little unit. Their other ability is that they can, in your command phase, if they're within 6 inches of a Kroot infantry unit, then they can advance and charge. Kind of handy for trying to score maybe behind enemy lines or getting engaged in all fronts. They're not really strong when it comes to their melee attack. They have no shooting attack, of course. And they get 3 attacks hitting on 3s, but they're only strength 3, AP 0, 1 damage. Again, there is a stratagem that increases the AP of the rest of the army's attacks during a phase. However, one unit has to attack first. So I'm thinking at some point I may charge in some Kroot Hounds and charge in some Rampagers. Have the Kroot Hounds attack first. Even if they don't do any damage, after they've attacked for 1 CP, I can increase the AP on the remaining attacks into that unit. So then the Rampagers will get that. So that might be a nice little synergy. Also, when they're near a character, they can do actions. So I might use them to do things like cleanse on objectives, depending on what DJ gives me to play into here. But next we have, all right, now we got the big boys. We have 9 of the Krootox Riders. These are the guys with guns. They do have another weapon option now, but I didn't even take it. It's because it's AP 0, and I wanted at least a little bit of AP. Now, the Krootox Riders, they come in units of 1, 2, or 3. So the most you can take is units of 3. And so, yeah, I've got 3 3-mans here. We've got as many as we can take. I've got 6 of the old metal models. They're on 40 millimeter bases, but I plop them on top of 50 millimeter bases, so they're a little bit, so they match the new base size. It also makes them so they're about the same height as the new models. I've got 3 of the brand new models. They're definitely very cool. I love these sculpts. Their special ability is actually pretty interesting. If you shoot an infantry unit within 6 inches of them, they get to shoot back at you in your own shooting phase. So they have a shoot back ability. Other than that, the autocannon they have is 2 shots, strength 7, AP 1, 2 damage, but it is rapid fire 2, and it does have a 36-inch range. So if they get within 18 inches, they do get 4 shots apiece, which is not bad for a unit that does, it's only 35 points per model. Their fists are pretty good too. They have a similar close combat attack to the Rampagers, because they still are big old Kroot boys that got them big old fists. So their melee attack is 4 attacks, hit on 3s, strength 6, AP 1, 2 damage. And it's in addition to some basic little attacks from the guy on top there. And then finally, we've got 9 of the Krootox Rampagers. These are the close combat ones. The disappointing thing is that they only have a 7-inch move. That can be kind of frustrating for something that's clearly a cavalry unit. They are mounted, so they're not vehicles or monsters. They are considered mounted. You would think they'd have a better move so they can get into combat. They do have the 7-inch scout move that everything in this army has, so that is handy, but it might be tricky sometimes to get them to actually complete those charges. Now, their ability is they do impact mortals. For every one of these models that gets into engagement range, when they charge, you roll a d6. On a 4-up, each one of those does d3 mortals. So it's very swingy. There may be times when you just don't roll any 4-ups, and there might be times when you do a whole bunch of 4-ups and get a whole bunch of impact mortals. Other than that, their attacks, like I said, in close combat, their attacks are 4 attacks, hitting on 3, strength 6, AP 1, 2 damage. They are sustained 1. And then the guy riding on their back does have some attacks. They're only, 3 attacks that are only strength 4, AP 1, 1 damage, but they do have lance, so they can contribute as well. So they do have a decent volume of attacks. Again, all of it's only AP 1, so it's going to be tough to get through decent armor. But luckily, DJ agreed to not bring any Grey Knights and have a bunch of 2-up armors with true silver armor that I had to deal with. So that's it, guys. That is the list. Okay, super excited to bring these guys on the channel here. They're going to be a lot of fun. Some of the stratagems to look out for in this game. There is an extra AP stratagem. Like I said, I've been talking about this a little bit. You can use it in either your shooting phase or your fight phase, but it only triggers, you can only use it after a unit has made an attack. So 1 unit attacks, and then I spend 1 CP, and the rest of my army will get 1 pip of extra AP into that target unit for the rest of that phase. So I can do that, I can charge 2 units in combat, 1 of them fights, and then I spend a CP, and the next unit gets extra AP. So that's it's trickier to do in combat, but obviously something you can pretty easily do in the shooting phase. It's just a matter of me having enough CP to do that. Some of the other strats we do have a lone op strat, so we can make any unit lone op. Now that they are out to the 18-inch range, that makes it a little more tricky to really take advantage of that, the lone op strat. We do have a fallback shoot and charge strat. We have something called an EMP grenade. If I'm within 8 inches of a enemy vehicle in their shooting phase, I can spend 1 CP, and it just means that their weapon skill or ballistic skill is reduced by 1. The ballistic skill is especially relevant because it's the ballistic skill. It doesn't make them anywhere to hit. So you make their ballistic skill 1 worse, and then everything in the army other than the Krootox is stealth. So then it functionally becomes -2 to hit, which can be relevant, especially if if you had the misfortune of playing your Kroot into things like Imperial Knights. Being able to take one of those knights and make him go from hitting on 3s to hitting on 5s would be definitely relevant. There's a few other strats. I can't think of them right now, but if I use them in the game, I'll definitely talk about them. I want to make sure I'm explaining everything I'm using in game. But I'm really excited. We've got an army. The entire army has scout move. Entire army is, other than the Krootox, is stealth. So we'll see if that really messes with DJ's shooting. But follow me over to the battle report. Let's see how these little bird boys do.